Are you okay?
It does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst flare screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this, that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome into Pro Football Today. It's time for the pregame show on this Thursday night. We have got a big battle going on between the Bengals and the Ravens, and many, many ways to unpack these lines and some player prop bets. But I think that we've hinted at me and the gentleman being on the same page for a number of these prop bets. Maybe I'm assuming too much. It's Thursday and I'm highly caffeinated. But more importantly, let's see what's going on with the gentlemen who are going to help this pregame party get started. We've got the Bengals, the Ravens, 5.5 spread, 52.5 on the total. And this is probably one of the higher totals we have seen primetime-wise in a hot minute. So, Sports King, talk to us. What do you like about this game? How's your Thursday going? I've called Thursday Sunday 3 times now beforehand. So, hopefully you're on a better day of the week pattern than I am.
Get it together, Case. All right, we got a
know.
big hockey show to talk about tomorrow. Right now, tonight, we're talking about the Ravens and the Bengals. You know they're both AFC North teams. It's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me. The Steelers are rolling. Can't wear either one. Like, this Ravens hat is the only Ravens thing I got. But I broke out just like the Ravens did tonight with some new decal on their helmet and new uniforms. I said, you know what? I got to wear something purple. So I got
around.
the Super Bowl jacket from the Super Bowl in Vegas when it was here. And everybody's been right with everything in the NFL. Had a pretty good night the other night. The boys did. You did. Everybody did with the props. I'm sure we'll find a bunch of winners, a bunch of overs. And if no one says Derrick Henry to score a touchdown, then what are we actually even doing here?
Interesting. Way to lay that one out there. I'll give you this, though. Purple looks nice on you. They did continue to keep the guys switched up, so I wonder how that's going to run for the luck of the mill. But Adam and the No Shave November continuing to roll strong. How are you feeling? How are you liking the Bengals versus the Ravens? Is it going to be as exciting as your incoming facial hair?
I don't know how exciting my facial hair is to the masses. I can tell you my wife is not a fan, but that's okay. I'm here to please the viewers and the listeners, not her. She's not paying it. She doesn't even know what I'm doing down here in the basement. I'm hanging out with you guys, and listen, I am fascinated by this game. We have two great teams in terms of potential, in terms of talent matching up in prime time. I'm not sure that either team is truly a great team. You have the Ravens at 6-3. They stumbled early, but they've won 6 of 7. The Bengals, who I continue to hold a postseason ticket on, hoping that they get to just get their acts together. I mean, they're 4-5 and just sort of middling right now. And the fact that T. Higgins is going to be out yet again does not help them, although, we joke about tight end love here all the time. I'm sure we'll be talking a whole bunch about Mike Gesicki a little bit later on. But the thing that fascinates me the most in this game, guys, in case you acknowledged it, it is the total. 53 and a half, depending on where you look. And I've seen a lot of people today on the under, even though we saw these two teams back in week 5 combine for 79 points, an overtime game that produced 79 points. The Ravens have gone over in every one of their games this year with the exception of one. The Bengals, 6-3 to the over this year. These teams, whether it's good offense, bad defense, or whatever the explanation, although it's probably that, they just play toward the over. So I find it very interesting that so many people in the gambling community seem to be leaning under in this primetime matchup.
Yeah, I found that interesting too, especially because totals have given bettors a royal run thus far this season. But with this one, I just can't imagine it not being a shootout. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there now. We haven't really seen the most outstanding play out of either of these defenses. And then considering the two guys in the pocket, I mean, why not? Come on, give us a primetime game that's finally going to be electrifying from top to bottom. Tom, how you feeling? How's Thursday treating you? And for everybody who needs to know this, Tom is going to be live in person with us next week on the Pro Football Today, not the pregame show. He's going to be hanging out with the other guys. He ditched us, but the postgame show and all the other good stuff. But more importantly, Tom, sticking to today, Ravens, Bengals, how you feeling?
I'm doing great. And, normally at this time, this is where I say, I want to talk about a specific player, and that's going to be Mark Andrews today. And I want to throw a question back to all three of you. Last season, week 11, was November 16th of 2023. What happened in that game? Does anyone know the answer?
Mark Andrews got a touchdown.
Mark Andrews got
two touchdowns.
No, that was the game that Mark Andrews hurt his ankle and caused him to miss the rest of the season. That was also the game that Joe Burrow got hurt. And Mark Andrews, I'm not going to say this derailed the Ravens season. The Ravens made it to the AFC Championship game. He came back in the game, 2 catches for 15 yards. So my point being, Mark Andrews exacts his revenge tonight against the Bengals, his division rival. There was a Thursday night game last season. Mark Andrews at plus 224, a touchdown. We saw him start off the season very slow. He's been getting better as the season has gone on. Also, we see the Bengals very, very bad against tight ends. So this is the game that Mark Andrews gets a little bit of revenge against his division rival and finds his way into the end zone.
I love that Tom found a revenge angle and all of this.
I'm saying, how frequent is it that Tommy plays in the mud in my streets with things like revenge narratives? Kid in the candy store right here. Do you see the joy, the adulation that is on my face?
He couldn't wait.
Plus,
he could not wait.
Isaiah Likely tonight.
Listen, there's also no Isaiah Likely. So I always like to. Right. I always like to start with good player usage, and I talk about snap rates and red zone target share and, yards per round or targets per round, whatever it might be. But and we have that with Mark Andrews. Like I said, start off the season super slow, and he's getting better as the season has gone on. Isaiah Likely is out. It is a great defensive matchup. We have a 52.5 over under. We are building like a strong base, and we want to sprinkle a little bit of revenge narrative on top. So let's get to it.
Just adding some kerosene to the fire. And you had me at tight end, so we know that the conversation doesn't have to go further than that. But it's our job to continue to unpack this and find all of the angles and views, which brings me back to you, Sports King. We talked about the total. Adam mentioned the fact that a lot of bettors are looking at the under. I mentioned the fact that all of us have been royally screwed a time or two when it comes to gauging this total accordingly, or more so you guys than me, because I didn't fall for the under stuff this season that much. But you got a 5.5 spread on a game that went into overtime just a few weeks ago. I already feel still strongly about the fact that both of these defenses aren't particularly that sexy. So what are the sportsbooks trying to get bettors to do with this 5.5 spread and this 52.5 total?
Oh, this is one of those ones where, we talked to a guy today, another odds maker, and he said it perfectly. We're getting really good two-way action on the side, and as long as it doesn't fall 6, it's going to be a win either way. But the total, it's really interesting because if the game was on Sunday, it probably would be 53.5 or 54. It would have already moved. But the Thursday night thing is real. It's one of those situations where the Thursday night games with the short week seem to go under. Now, last time we saw Baltimore in prime time, I don't want to, rehash bad thoughts Case, but they played Tampa and they smoked them and they scored a ton of points. So that's the way I think it's looking right now. Just be cautious. I haven't heard anyone, at least out here in the desert, say they like the under. So different coasts, different folks, different voices. So, Adam's back east. I'm out west. I've heard nothing but over. And Adam hears under. And you hear tight end. I mean, everybody hears something different.
I'll tell you what, your buddy and mine, Brady Cannon from the SportsGrid, commune here. Yeah, he and I were chatting last night. And let me tell you, he probably lives five doors down from you there in Vegas, and he likes the under in this game. So you got a little under attention on your coast.
Well, we'll see what takes place here. We got to bring things head to head here on Pro Football Today, the pregame show, as y'all know. So coming up on the segment on the other side of this break, maybe we'll shake things up. Maybe rather than starting with the quarterbacks, even though we're expecting a shootout for the most part, I'm speaking for myself, we might start with the tight ends because I think we're all on the same page here to say it could be a big night for the tight ends outside of National Tight End Weekday or anything that you can imagine. So stick with us here on Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show here on SportsGrid TV. We will catch you guys on the other side of this quick break.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show with Kasey Hudson, Dave Sharapan, Adam Kaufman, and Tom Vecchio. Make sure you're following everybody over on social media because, as I remind you, every Pro Football Today pregame party, we chat with each other during the game. We keep things interesting, and we celebrate one another. When you land great bets or lack thereof. So it doesn't matter. We were talking about taking this party head to head, getting into these position groups to see what might go down in this primetime showdown tonight. And we're going to mix things up. Let's talk about some tight ends. We've got Mark Andrews, who Tom laid out is the guy of the night, or at least when you say it's a Mark Andrews game, yeah? So we're going to let you continue to run with that one, and let's see what props are more favorable between these two tight ends and the action that they'll bring to the field tonight, Tom.
I think both tight ends are firmly on the table tonight. Now, I really do like Mark Andrews for a touchdown of the tight ends. Kasey could certainly get there. Frankly, when I'm looking at Mark Andrews' yardage prop, I don't love it. Not as to prelude the LOL segment, but I like it tonight. I think there's a reasonable scenario where he has 3 or 4 receptions for 35 or so yards and still does find his way into the end zone. We know there's going to be no Isaiah Likely out tonight, but I also think the Ravens want to make a point to get Deontay Johnson, who they traded for a couple of weeks ago or last week, a little bit more involved in the offense. So not as much yardage going to Andrews. I'm not super in love with the yardage prop. So I love his tight end. His touchdown again, tight end touchdown. We're all over the place.
All the teas.
But for Kasey, Kasey had a huge game last week. Granted, it was against the Raiders, but T. Higgins is still out tonight, and there are some reports that Jermaine Burton should be involved in the passing offense tonight because he was inactive last night due to off the field, team, whatever. So they're still going to need someone else besides Jamar Chase. So Kasey, I think you could look to any of his props, and we're looking in the right direction for a game that has a 52.5 over/under.
Oh, I've got him for over 50.5 receiving yards. But Adam, what do you think when it comes to the tight end conversation and some favorable props and angles to gauge for this Thursday night matchup?
Yeah, thoughts on both these guys. I'm largely in agreement with what Tom was talking about as it relates to Mark Andrews. This is a guy who, because of other weapons in that Baltimore offense, I never, pardon me, quite know how to bet him. I could see him as well at 2, 3, 4 catches, short yardage. But the end zone is intriguing. He didn't score last week. First time since week 5 that Mark Andrews did not score. But the Bengals have given up 5 touchdowns to tight ends so far this year. So I think that is something that we should be paying attention to. Lamar Jackson's going to be looking for him. There's no doubt about it when it comes to the passing game. I'm more interested in Mike Gesicki. And Kasey, I like the over on the receiving yards for Gesicki. Again, I don't know if I need to spell this out. T. Higgins is not playing. Again, T Higgins is not playing in this game, guys. The last 2 games, I don't know why Tom has to say, granted it was against the Raiders, as if the Baltimore defense doesn't absolutely blow. It's awful.
It's also true.
Gesicki over the last 2 games, okay? Listen to these numbers. Gesicki the last 2 games. 5 of 6 for 100 yards, 7 of 8 for 73 yards. Jamar Chase is clearly the guy. We all know that. But outside of that, Burrow's going to be looking at Gesicki. He is not the same dude that wasted away and did nothing but one singular gritty during his season with New England. He is reborn here with Cincinnati, and he is taking advantage of an opportunity with no Higgins involved. I think Gesicki is going to have a solid night. I like him for 5 catches at plus money. I like him over on the receiving yardage. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he found the end zone either.
You know what? I like the enthusiasm. I'll add to it. Ravens have allowed 68-plus receiving yards to tight ends in their last 3 games. The Bengals have been relying heavily on Gesicki, as you just laid out as well. Not to mention is that with everything you mentioned, Adam, I know that trends are your friends, but touchdown props not so much. How do we feel about Gesicki finding the end zone for plus 220?
Good question. Good question.
There you go.
Well, address it, Dave.
No, I'm waiting. I'm putting my listening glasses on because I wanted to hear you say.
Look what he tried to do there. He tried to toss the tight end, the touchdown conversation to
That's
Dave.
fine.
That came
I'll
back at
handle it.
you. All right.
No, I think there's decent value in the. It's not great value. I'd feel better about it if it was like 3-1 or something, but it's decent value. It's. I just think that a lot of what I have spelled out here over the last couple of minutes, Vegas, is well aware as well. I'm not cluing people into the fact that Gesicki has become an increased usage target. Again, 14 targets and a dozen catches the last 2 games. I guarantee it wasn't plus 220 for Gesicki to score a touchdown, 2 weeks ago. But with what's happened, the books have taken notice.
Yeah, that's where trends are not your friends. Yeah, Dave, break this down for us. What do you like and love about the tight end situation tonight?
Did we jump segments? You're going
No.
too fast. You're all caffeinated up. You like, love this, whatever.
I don't have my notes.
Hold on, please. All right, slow down. Anytime
all
touchdown
right.
scorer. All right, just look at the list. So he's really far down, and I was hoping that tonight was going to be the Vecchio dubbed Jamar Chase game. Like I was hoping it was the Chase night. So you've thrown
We're
me
not there yet.
completely off. All right, that's fine, but you throw me off with all this Mark Andrews love and all this tight end talk.
It's a lot of market.
Look at their reception numbers. When you put the graphic up and you look at their reception numbers, it's literally 3.5 and 4.5. So expected numbers by the book are telling you, okay, they're going to have the usual impact, but they're not going to have the wide receiver numbers. I like Andrews to score a touchdown. I don't like Kasey to score a touchdown. Again, there may be touchdowns scored by all of them and both of them and 5 guys on that list. How many guys off that list do you guys think? I mean, you want to talk about making a number? How many guys on that list score a touchdown tonight? Is it 5? Is it less? Or is it more? 5's the number.
5 is where you're going. I don't hate 5.
5 different guys?
Yeah, 5 different guys.
Oh, I thought we were talking about 5 touchdowns. Why would we go to 5 different guys? If one guy finds his way in the end zone, don't they usually go back to him at least one other time?
He said how many guys on that list? That would be 5 different guys.
The list dropped down a bit fast for me. Math? You know what? We're up against a break here, so we're gonna move on from what Adam's throwing out into the mix.
And train B leaves the station at 8:30.
Sure. Actually, I killed it in math. I was in AP Calculus ahead of my class there. Anyway, stick with us. We got some same-game parlay coming up on the other side of this break, so come back with us here on SportsGrid TV.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today. It's the pregame party with Kasey Hudson, Dave Sharapan, Tom Vecchio, and Adam Kaufman. But more importantly, it is time for us to get into some same-game parlay. All right, Thursday means one thing and one thing only. Tom, do us the pleasures of unrolling out the same game parlays, as I just remembered, because it's plural.
Let's start off and going to a 4-leg SGP today. Something I don't do.
Who is this guy?
I'll be perfectly honest. There's was it a bonus bet or whatever it is on FanDuel for a full minimum 4-leg, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where I'm going with it. And we're starting off with the Mark Andrews touchdown. It was sitting at plus 220 when I tweeted it out a couple days ago about the Mark Andrews touchdown. When I went to actually make the SGP today, once this bonus kicked in, it was sitting at plus 160. So just being perfectly honest with that. That's where we're starting. Burrow, 250 plus passing yards. We're looking at we're looking at the worst pass defense in the league. They're allowing 280 passing yards per game. That is the most in the NFL. So we're going to be going to, of course, Burrow there, who's been absolutely fantastic this season. He's not only passing at a super high rate, he's being super safe with the ball. He's not throwing interceptions. He's piling up these games where he's starting off like 12 of 13, 14 of 15, incredibly efficient. Then we're turning to Lamar Jackson, also 200-plus passing yards. And we're altering both of these quarterbacks down just to get a little bit of safety in there because we do get some nice plus money with the Mark Andrews touchdown. And then moving up to Chase, alt over 70 receiving yards. His number sitting at 79.5, and I do like that. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I want to take a little bit more safety again because we're working to add in this bonus bet, which we do need for a minimum of 4 legs. Chase is going to eat tonight. Earlier in the season, we saw him go for 10, 139, and 2 touchdowns against the Ravens team. So if you want to take Chase 70+, if you want to go for a little bit more and you want to take him at over 79.5 or 90+, I think all of that is viable tonight for Jamar Chase up at plus 488 for this. I absolutely love this one tonight.
Ooh, remember my poetic hands. All right, Adam, how do you counter this one or join it or match it or do, anything to get the love of Dave Sharapan at the end of this?
All right, well, Dave, you may remember, and we talked about it on Twitter as well, how last week in this segment, I gave you an SGP, and I said, this one is going to hit, and Dave, what happened?
It hit.
It hit.
Yeah, you said it. You called your shot. It hit it.
It hit, Dave. I called my shot and it hit. Well, let me tell you something. This one, I'm not so sure what's going to happen, but I do like it. Here's what we have. Listen, it's 4 legs. It is similar in some regards to what Tom built out for you. Dave said, what the hell are we doing here if we're not going to talk about Derrick Henry anytime touchdown? Well, I'll tell you what, that is one of the legs. It is. If trends are our friends until they're not, that a Derrick Henry anytime touchdown is a free square until it's not, which is why you see the juice on it at minus 260. I almost threw up in my mouth. Gross. But you know what? The dude has a touchdown in every single game so far this year. Lamar Jackson, I have taken his yardage down ever so slightly. His passer prop is 230, 235. I brought it down to 225. But listen to his game log since the last time he faced the Bengals back in Week 5. In that game, Lamar threw for a season-high 348 yards. That was not an outlier, at least not a complete outlier, because here's what he's done since. 323, 281, 289, 280. You know what those 5 numbers have in common, guys? They are all considerably higher than 225. And by the way, Lamar Jackson is still dealing with that knee and back issues, like old man like me, back issues, sitting in this chair all day. So Lamar might not be running as much as he has been earlier in the year. He may be more inclined to pass, all right? So we have him. I don't need to go crazy talking about Jamar Chase. Tom has already touched on him. My radio partner said Chase to the moon this week, and he is 2-0 when declaring guys are going into space. So Chase is going to have a phenomenal game tonight. Nevertheless, we are taking 80-plus receiving yards, took him down a half yard, couple of yards, 80-plus receiving yards out of Jamar Chase, who, by the way, last time these teams met, again, all that offense, 10 catches on a dozen targets for almost 200 yards. Yeah, to the moon for Chase. The other leg, Mike Gesicki, I told you, 5 catches. He's going to be heavily, heavily involved. You put those 4 legs together, and we are getting north of 4-1 as well.
I'm hoping Lamar has his copper fit on and decides to sling that ball because I've got something that I need him to cash out for me. But that was so much great information from Adam and the trends and the friends and, all the things. So, Dave, you probably have a lot to process here, which means we're going to find out Dave's pick on the other side of this break that we are against here on SportsGrid TV. Follow SportsGrid over on X, follow each of us, and join us on the other side.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have a Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got into the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back at it with Pro Football Today. It's the pregame party with Kasey, Dave, Tom, and Adam. We just ran through some same-game parlay, but what we did not do was pick a winner. So, Dave, back in the hot seat you go. Who is the winner on this Thursday for Ravens versus the Bengals?
Let's pop them back up in reverse order. Let's put Tom's up first. Because
throw it in reverse.
I liked everything about Tom's, which is going to make Adam mad, jealous, whatever. But you got 2 of the same things working. You just kind of move the numbers. The Lamar thing and the Burrow passing yards, it's all working there. The Chase number has to go over. I was very happy that you both said that. The Mark Andrews thing is the one that's worried me for this one, Tom. So that's the only one. But I think it's going to catch a touchdown. So I like this one. Adam, yours looks great too. Don't get me wrong. Yours looks good. You did good to get value and made the thing work. You obviously involved the Henry thing. You called your shot last week. Again, I am forced to pick one. If I could pick both, I would. But the rules are that I can only pick one. The Gesicki thing does it for me. I don't think it's going to happen. I think too many people are on it, and they just advance the ball with the Gesicki thing. Because T. Higgins isn't playing, the book knows he's not playing, and the number doesn't move that much. Hopefully you win it because you altered it. But I'm picking Vecchio on Thursday.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, he flipped that on me. I thought that was coming in my direction.
I did too.
The build up there, I thought it was mine. I thought it was in pocket. I was getting ready to fingers to the sky and just took it
Listen,
right
I'll
away.
do it on the Twitter.
Rug out.
You're up late. I'll do it on the Twitter. We'll shout you out there.
Very late.
It's because he can't pick 2 winners here. Look, I can always alleviate this pressure by throwing in some things I like into the mix, like Burrow and Jackson combining for 550 for plus 175. I mean, why not? And then let's kick it over to the wide receiver head-to-head. We haven't talked about these guys yet. I'm sure Tom's itching to break down his thoughts on this one. So, Tom, we'll start with you. Favorably, where are you liking the wide receiver matchup with this one? Because while everybody has their pick and their game and their person, I think Bateman over 30.5 receiving yards is just kind of a lock. So I don't see too many people chat about that one. Tom, break it down for us.
Yeah.
Forbidden word.
Yeah. Is that what we got? Yuck or yak?
I'm in shock.
No, lock. Lock is a tough word. But let's get to the wide receivers. I think the wide receiver rooms on both sides are very interesting because Jamar Chase is legitimately one of the best receivers in the entire league. I think the case that both Adam and I have made for him is very, very clear. Zay Flowers has been absolutely unbelievable, going for 100-plus yards in a lot of his recent games. The one game a couple Thursdays ago that he didn't go for 100 is when I spoke about him going up against the Bucs, and everyone scored in that game except Zay Flowers. So I'm not going to say I'm a little bit salty about Zay Flowers, but that might be the case. I think what we get after that for both teams is actually very, very interesting because, yes, Rashad Bateman has been playing a good role for the Ravens, but they also traded for Deontay Johnson, and getting him involved in the offense is the thing that they need to do. Getting him on a short week last week, and he just doesn't play a ton of snaps. He doesn't run a ton of routes last week. Getting him to increase those numbers means someone else is going to take a step back. And if Zay Flowers is the etched in stone player for the Ravens, and then we have Mark Andrews, some of those other players are going to take a step back. And considering Isaiah likely is out tonight, it could be Rashad Bateman taking a step back, and then Deontay Johnson sees a role increase. And the same thing can be said about the Bengals, where we know Jamar Chase, we know what we're getting from him, we know T. Higgins is out. Mike Gesicki could be there, but will we see Jermaine Burton involved? Will we see Andre Yoshivas involved? Will we see Khalil Herbert involved, who they traded for earlier this week, and they need to play a solid role because Zach Moss is on IR, and Chase Brown can only do so much. So when it comes to the receiving options, I think we are set in stone, one for each team. But after that, it's actually a little bit murky, and that does provide a lot of opportunity, especially for someone like Deontay Johnson going for 40-plus at plus 340.
Interesting. All right, Adam, your thoughts. I think you were one of the yucks in the mix of me saying that Bateman can be a progressive guy tonight.
No, look, I like Bateman tonight. I wouldn't go crazy with him, but obviously his numbers are not crazy either. You want to take him for a couple of catches, 25 yards, something like hell. His passing or his receiving prop is in the vicinity of 25, 30 yards. So it's not like you're looking for a lot from him. He could get it on one play. Zay Flowers, to me, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, we don't need to talk more about Jamar Chase. We both love Jamar Chase. Hopefully he doesn't disappoint tonight, obviously. Zay, look, I have the FanDuel no sweat bet. There are in-game live boosts. There are, whatever the book, when you shop around, you have different boost options. Zay Flowers, if not for the fact that he went to Boston College, would be dead to me. I don't have him anywhere tonight.
Wow.
I do not trust this guy as far as I can throw him. And I'm going to tell you why. I understand that he has gone nuts lately. 127 last week. 115 the week before in Cleveland. The last time he faced Cincinnati with all that offense, 7 for 12 for 111. We know what the dude is capable of. He's insanely athletic and quick and all of it. But sometimes, for whatever stupid reason, he just gets phased out. You look up and down his game log, and I promise you, I was invested in him in each and every one of these nights. How about 3 for 4 for 20 yards, not even 25, that little benchmark number, 20 yards in a game at Dallas? How about 1 for 2 for 10 yards against the Bills? How about Tom brought up the Monday night game? How about 1 for 1, targeted one time? He had one catch for 11 yards and was basically a decoy the rest of the damn night. So Zay, listen, nice guy, Celtics fan. I just don't trust you. I don't trust you, and I am not I may lose my no sweat bet tonight, guys. But I'll tell you this: it's not going to be because of Zay Flowers. He is not going anywhere near my place tonight. No way, no how. See you later.
That's great.
Oh my gosh, I didn't imagine that level of emotion behind Zay Flowers, but the inconsistency.
You know how much money he's stolen from me? It's like I've been held up at the ATM.
Zay Flowers has had Adam at some point. Then that's a way to put it. But Dave, what do you make of this? Because there are a number of, like, when you talk about this matchup, when we talk about what the quarterbacks are going to do, when we talk about the passing yards and the amount of yardage that both of these defenses can let up throughout the air, going to those obvious targets such as Zay Flowers, not for Adam, and then Jamar Chase, as both of these guys love going to outer space here, and then the tight end conversation. Do we think that the books are making it to the point where it's like go for the top guy, or like is there an underdog here or a secondary guy, I guess, outside of the one that I chose that you can see getting in the mix here?
I think the Baltimore side is interesting. I really, the Chase thing is, it feels like he's that one where he's going to get the majority of the targets, the receptions, and the yards. Now, the Baltimore thing is interesting. And like the kids would say to me, Adam, are you still mad, bro? Like about the Zay Flowers thing? Like, you mad, bro? Like,
yeah,
it
he's
sounds
hurt.
like it.
He's
All
not
right,
mad, he's
fine.
hurt.
It left a mark, but I think Deontay Johnson getting traded. Yeah, like this might be one of those, hey, let's get him involved. The reception number 1.5 overs minus 148. How does he not get, I think, at least 2-3 targets? So that's the sneaky one for me. When I was going through the list, I'm like, wait a second. Why is nobody talking about him? He's going to be the one that's going to save Kaufman from having aggravation from Zay Flowers tonight. All right? So
he's going to protect Kaufman's mental.
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
Okay, potentially. I like the over 1.5 on that because I think you and Tom do make a strong point. I just like for teams that aren't particularly in a rush to get a guy involved, or like the need is not dire, we haven't seen them, overdo it in a sense. Like it's taken some teams probably by the third week of having a new player on board before those reps and those snaps really start leaning on them. So I don't know. That was just the mental behind me gauging what the Ravens were going to do. And Bateman coming off of a big week a couple weeks ago, I think that they want to continue to build his confidence. Over 30 receiving yards should be just fine, but more importantly, maybe a touchdown. I don't know. We're going to talk about some crazy stuff on the other side of this break coming up here, but make sure you stick with us here on SportsGrid TV. Make sure you're following at SportsGrid over at SportsGrid, plain and simple as is. More importantly, these three handsome faces, you're going to make sure you want to follow them as well so you can chat with us over on X throughout the entire game, but most importantly, don't go anywhere. Stick with us on the other side of this quick break.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once it got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back at it with Pro Football Today. It's the pregame party with Kasey, Tom, Dave, and Adam. But it's time for us to get into some Like It, Love It, and Leave It here on SportsGrid TV. All right, gentlemen, we switch things up when it comes to Like It, Love It, Leave It. Thursdays for Tom to go first on SGP, but it is time for Adam Kaufman to go first with his Like It, Love It, Leave It, and see where Dave stands on this one. More pressure for you, Dave. More pressure.
I'm good.
No, I mean, I'm glad that Dave brought up Deontay Johnson. Let's go there. Let's expect something out of Deontay Johnson in this one tonight. See, Dave may have sided with Tom before on the SGP, but he brought up Derrick Henry. He brought up Johnson. We're a little, simpatico right here. Listen, they didn't acquire Deontay Johnson to be a decoy, guys. He played 16 snaps in his first game as a member of the Ravens, was barely used, wasn't targeted once, but fine, short week, lack of practice, all that stuff. He had just been acquired. Now, obviously, it's a short week in that they play on a Thursday, but at least he's been with the team more than 7 days. He's been part of multiple practices. 17.5 yards? Are you kidding me? I'm going 25 plus in each half for Deontay Johnson at 13-1. I guarantee you weren't getting 13-1 on that number when he was with Carolina. Oh, and how about this? He faced the Bengals earlier this year. You know what he did in that game? 7 catches, 83 yards, guys. Deontay Johnson, 13-1, 25 receiving yards per half. That is my Like It, Love It, Leave It.
Ooh, I wonder if there's a longest reception of the night in the mix there. Tom, what do you got?
I already, just to jump back to Deontay, I already said I like him for 40-plus yards at plus 340, so sign me up. So for my LLL, let's turn to Jamar Chase and Zay Flowers to each have 25-plus receiving yards in each half, sitting about plus 460. We've gone on and on about Jamar Chase, and while Adam doesn't like Zay Flowers, I think there's a chance to make a little bit of green here. We'd be calling him Zay Florist at the end of the night with how much he's going to be making me. But 25-plus in each half, he can still have 25-plus in each half and still potentially hit the under on his prop because it's sitting in the 60s. So Jamar Chase is going to eat tonight, and Zay Flowers I still think can have a solid role. Maybe it's not going to be an explosive 100-plus yard game like we've seen a lot of in his recent game logs, but Chase Flowers, 25-plus in each half.
Oh, my goodness. All right, Dave, you got to digest if Zay Flowers will have the green thumb tonight.
What is yours? What is yours? I mean, let me
preference this by saying that I am not a quitter. I am not the kind of person who gives up until it works out. So, Mark Andrews, first half, touchdown, plus 330. Mind you, in the last 3 games, he has a second quarter TD. So just, do the ratio stuff there because Adam tried to throw math at me earlier, but
I did.
2 in the last 2 of the last 3 games, Mark Andrews has a second quarter tutty, and tonight I need him to find the touchdown in the first half at plus 330. What say you?
I am sitting here and I'm listening to these wonderful arguments for all of this stuff, and if this total goes over, I said that 5 guys were scoring touchdowns. You guys got yardage things. You have a first half touchdown. There was a saying, I guess, back in the day before we were all born. It was called peace, love, and happiness. And I can't stop thinking of that parlay right now with all 3 of those. This has never happened in the whole season since we've been doing this show. But this might be a love. This might be a complete love fest sweep.
What?
That if you did all 3 of these things.
What are we at Woodstock?
Which
I was just about to say
that's
Woodstock.
What I'm thinking. I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. So it might all be one of those things happening right now.
A whole lot of love.
Somebody put them in a parlay calculator, those 3 prices, and we're taking the rest of the year off. If this hits, all 3 hit. The one I'm worried about most is Adam. But I like your thinking there.
How dare you?
He's going to get 25 in one half. We might only get it in one half. That's the catch. I mean, Tom, I don't know how
the price just sneak in the little jab. What I'm worried about is Adam, though. But yeah.
Well, no, because you got to get it in both halves. His yardage prop is like 20. That's, I mean, okay.
Yeah, 17 and a half. This is an easy spot to hit and over.
I'm gonna price this out. I'm gonna find out what we're looking at here.
Price it out. That's a big payout. That's a gigantic payout. But that's
like a double over. All right. Well, look, I'll take all of the love. Honestly, I mean, it's been a couple weeks since I've gotten any love in this category, so I will take it and run with it.
I do.
Yeah. I'm so glad because I thought we were all on the same page. It felt very synergistic, or as Adam says, simpatico, and there we go. What we have not discussed yet before we move along here is the running backs. Everybody talks about Derrick Henry getting in the end zone, and we talk about probably not needing as much run game, or Bengals don't have a run game. A lot of it's on IR. But, Tom, what do you think about the running back group in this mix-up?
Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, right? We're all in agreement on that. We know what we're going to be getting from him. His yards are high. Could he easily hit the over? Could he hit the over on his attempts? I think the most interesting prop for Derrick Henry is probably over 19.5 for his longest rush, or 18.5, wherever you may find it. We see him routinely breaking off those big runs. So, yeah, I think Derrick Henry is again, the same thing with Jamar Chase on the side. We can kind of etch that in stone a little bit of know what we're going to be getting from him. Chase Brown's obviously playing a significantly bigger role for the Bengals because Zach Moss is on IR. Again, they brought in Khalil Herbert. I expect him to play a little bit of a role. But the Ravens also activated Keontae Mitchell off of IR. And this is a player that they kept, and they let J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards walk in the offseason. So I have some interest in Keontae Mitchell getting into the end zone today, getting him back involved in the offense. We know Justice Hill is there, but they are a strong running team and kind of this three-headed monster we know that Harbaugh has run in years past. I kind of like him tonight.
Dave, I want to ask you this. Name 3 of the 5 guys you see getting in the end zone tonight. I'm so curious.
Derrick Henry.
Uh-huh.
I think Lamar gets in.
Okay.
And obviously Mark Andrews is going to catch one in the first half.
Uh-huh.
Chase is catching one.
Obviously.
Chase is catching one. And the other one for Cincy is the tough one for me because I don't know if it's Gesicki.
They're tight end.
It might be Chase multiple times, but maybe Deontay Johnson. They get the new guy involved. It worked on Monday. Get D-Hop the ball. Let's get our guy on a quick slant touchdown.
All right, we'll see what goes down and some other best bets to gauge on the other side of this quick break. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us here on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
back at it with Pro Football Today, the pregame show with Kasey Hudson, Dave Sharapan, Tom Vecchio, and Adam Kaufman. You guys being switched is just like, it's great, but it's also stressing me out. Doesn't matter, though. It's not up to me. Dave spread out a whole lot of love Woodstock style in case you missed it for Like It, Love It, Leave It. Wasn't that great? But more importantly, before we let these guys go and get to the Magic Wall and get some more best bets for this Thursday night matchup between the Ravens and the Bengals, let's see what else the guys have in store for this matchup. Now, Adam, you were raising your hand so kindly before we cut to the break. I didn't choose to go to break before picking you. I'd pick you every day. So the floor is yours for any final thoughts that you have.
Go figure. Adam wants to talk. Two quick things. One, Sharapan, sadly, we cannot parlay all that love. You can only have so much love, apparently. We can't put those together. Can't put the game specials together. I just wanted to hit on the running back thing a little bit that Tom was talking about. I don't have too much to add on Chase Brown, but Tom said, and on the surface I agree. Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. We know who he is. I think that's largely true, except I think we need to at least consider it may not be in this matchup. Cincinnati is actually decent against the run. It's not good against the pass. We're talking all about, obviously, the potential receiving weapons and Deontay Johnson, Zay Flowers, and all that. Not so great against the run. And so if you look at Derrick Henry when he faced the Bengals a few weeks back, you could look at it and say, wow, 15 carries for 92 yards.
I already know what you're going to say.
That's an average of.
I already know what you're going to say.
That's an average of 6 per carry. Yeah, one of those was a 51-yard run, and so if you take that out, he had 14 carries for about 40 yards for an average of not even 3 yards per carry. So they largely stifled him last time around, and I just wouldn't be so certain that doesn't happen again.
Oh, you were just waiting to get that one out. If you had to do the helmet game where the helmets jump up and down, Adam, who are you going with? Is it the Bengals? Is it the Ravens?
I would take the Bengals with the number, and I would sprinkle them on the money line.
All right. Okay. Tom, final thoughts.
Vinny, if we could flash the quarterback graphic real quick, that would be great. I think there's a reasonable route considering the game total, considering how bad the Ravens defense is. I think there's a reasonable route where Joe Burrow hits the over on his yards, his touchdowns, his attempts, and his completions, and the Bengals may still lose this game. And the same thing I said the other night about the Bucs, I think is largely in line with the Bengals, where I think the Ravens win, I think the Bengals cover, and I think we see Burrow go over all of his props. I specifically like him over 36.5 attempts. We're going to see him throwing at a high rate, especially if they're going to be playing from behind. He's been incredibly efficient. He's literally one of the best quarterbacks in the league in terms of yards, completion rate, you name it. So, again, kind of like the same thing on Monday. We see the Bengals cover. The Ravens still win. We're going to see a lot of props hit the over. And Mark Andrews finds his touchdown today.
Okay, so I didn't remember what the reaction was, if anybody heard me. Do we hate the ability of these two quarterbacks to combine for 550-plus passing yards?
No, I don't hate that at all. I like both their overs.
That's not bad.
What are the odds?
What's the price on that?
Plus 175. Plus 175.
Okay. The last time these teams played, Burrow went for where is it? Burrow went for 392 by himself, and Lamar went for 348. Quick math, that's over 700 yards.
That's over.
If Adam maths me one more time, Dave Sharapan, the guy who looks so great in purple. Final thoughts on this matchup, Ravens versus Bengals. What you got?
Thank you. I broke out the big purple, and now I broke out the Super Bowl purple hat. I don't really have any other purple hats, but I got this whole ensemble at the Super Bowl here in Vegas, and my kids said,
underdog out there, if you think about it, or at least if you look at this Super Bowl winner. Once again, I remind you, follow SportsGrid over at SportsGrid. Follow these three guys over on X and chat with us on X during the entire game, as well as everything else. In-game live coming up next.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have a Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, before we get to In-Game Live with Joe, Kevin, and Donnie, we've got to talk with Joe because we've got to get the picks for this Thursday night. We got to get your opinion on what this matchup is going to curtail. Most importantly, everybody thinks that this is going to be a shootout. I still think so because of what we've seen earlier in this season and what to expect out of these two quarterbacks. But what are you expecting out of the Ravens versus the Bengals tonight?
I'm not sure if we're going to get a shootout like we saw the last time where it was 41-38. Joe Burrow, 392 yards. Lamar Jackson, 350-plus. Burrow with 5 touchdowns. I'm not sure we're going to get that type of situation tonight for a couple of factors. We saw Baltimore bounce back with a big effort last week against a very good defense in terms of Denver. They dominate 41-10. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, we saw Cincinnati get right finally at home against an undermanned Las Vegas team. But now they're going on the road, Kasey, right? Biggest factor in terms of winning games on the road is you need the rushing attack. I expect Chase Brown to be a huge part of that offense. Oh. Maybe Cincinnati runs it early on, tries to establish a lead, keep Lamar Jackson on the sidelines. They do have the more explosive offense heading into this matchup.
Yeah, that is a good point. And plus, we didn't get a chance to talk much about the run in the earlier parts of the pregame party, but more importantly, they were talking about Derrick Henry, they were talking about the touchdown, but I like that you mentioned Brown in the mix there. Why do you heavily feel like it would be more so Brown over tight end Gesicki?
Well, Gesicki came off, 4 receptions, 100 yards, two touchdowns last week, so that's the common denominator. I expect them to potentially hit pay dirt, but without Zach Moss in that lineup, I think it's all Chase Brown. He can run it. He can catch it. Utilize him in the short to intermediate passing game. His total for rushing 56.5. I actually like him over the 24.5 receiving, altered him up to 40+. I think that has positive value. He can be utilized. I think he can eat in this matchup. So if you want to take a combined effort on Chase Brown, rushing and receiving, not a bad look.
Okay, so how would this affect Jamar Chase? Because we've talked with Adam. Adam talked with his coworkers. They think that Chase is going to have a performance to the moon today. But Brown could be an alleviator.
Yeah, it's possible, but here's the thing. I mean, Justin Jefferson ate on primetime. I'm not going to take away from Jamar Chase. He's still the number one option for Joe Burrow. But if you're Baltimore, you want to take away Jamar Chase, at least limit him to some capacity, double team him, force secondary and third options in terms of that offense, especially without T. Higgins in that lineup. It's one thing you could put up points against Las Vegas. Still, Baltimore playing at home is a different animal, and I think that's why Chase Brown does have some value tonight.
All right. Now, sticking with the potential non-shootout theme here, what are you foreseeing for Baltimore and their offense? Because we know that Lamar hasn't been, well, I mean, he can easily hit 40 rushing yards. He's been consistent in that facet. But outside of that, Derrick Henry, him finding the end zone in his role, some people think it's a big Mark Andrews night. So where do you lean on this one?
So I do like Lamar to hit pay dirt tonight, plus 185. His rushing total 47.5. I'm going to lay off of that until an in-game type of situation. If we can get it somewhere in the 20s late, maybe in the second quarter, I'll jump on that. I do like Mark Andrews tonight. Not for a touchdown, 60, 70 plus. I think he's the main option for that offense with Isaiah likely out. I know Bateman, I know Zay Flowers are the look, but we see at times Cincinnati struggle with tight ends. A couple of weeks ago, Calcaterra blew through his number with 42, 45. Mark Andrews, healthy, I think has a big night tonight.
All right. What are some other plays that you like in this matchup between these two offenses?
I lean to Baltimore for the game, minus the 5.5, 6. I just think Baltimore's the right side in terms of this matchup. I know Cincinnati's live. I just don't think they're as complete this year as they were in years past, especially with the defense. So keep an eye out for that. Some other options. I mean, Derrick Henry, I altered him down in terms of 50-plus. Keaton Mitchell's back in that lineup as well. 15.5 rushing. 25-plus, I took a shot in a parlay. I think it's somewhere in the area of 3-1.
Okay, I like that. Build on that a little bit for me because we did touch on it a little bit, Mitchell being more of an reliever. And plus, they said that the Bengals probably have a better run-stop defense than giving credit for, so they can limit Henry just a little bit more than anticipated. So is that what leads you towards Mitchell?
Well, I think we have three different running backs potentially. Justice Hill, a very good wide receiver in terms of the rushing attack, right, coming out of the backfield on third down. But if Mitchell is healthy, you want to utilize him in terms of getting fresh legs. So to spell Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry 88, 89 in terms of that total, I'd rather take a wait and see. He's going to be fed the rock, but if Cincinnati takes him away, that can lead to secondary options in this matchup.
All right. Now let's take these quarterbacks head-to-head. We didn't get a chance to do it much earlier. If we're not expecting a shootout, where do you think the numbers lie for Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson?
I think Joe Burrow has to get through his total specifically for pushing tempo, but Lamar, I think, could be right in the area of maybe 220, 230, right in that area, just because of how many weapons they have. If Derrick Henry does take the game over and Lamar does break contain with his legs, could be a long day for Cincinnati, sustained drives, and they don't have to do a lot in terms of the passing attack. It's more important that Burrow pushes tempo on the road, but we'll see how it plays out.
Okay, now I need some help with this because Adam has a bone to pick with Zay Flowers. Apparently, Flowers has costed him a lot of fortune. But outside of that, I'm thinking Bateman gets more involved because he had a very confident performance, a career-high performance just a few weeks ago. And I think that you build off of that so that you can continue to have a weapon in hand and not always go to the same old targets. So what are we looking at for the secondary players on both rosters here?
Well, what about Deontay Johnson, right? He's the main new weapon coming from Carolina. Cheap number tonight, 17.5. You want to get him involved in regards to the offense. We know about Zay Flowers. I do like Deontay Johnson. They utilized him in Pittsburgh and Carolina, bubble screens, yards after the catch. That can mean, one or two catches in terms of this matchup. Bateman's not a longest reception for Bateman might be the play to go for him over Flowers, because Flowers is catching footballs and then yards after catch as well. Bateman's the home run hitter over the past few weeks. Keep an eye out for that.
I like that. Just give me 2 big receptions, Bateman. That's all I need to get to your 30. It's not a big ask. Now, something else that we were discussing, Dave was talking about the fact that he can see 5 different players getting into the end zone tonight. Who are some of your top targets getting into the end zone?
I like Andrews to potentially get in there. I like Gesicki as well. The reason why I say Gesicki, we've seen the Ravens struggle with tight ends, right? So if I'm going to take Gesicki, I don't want to take the 50.5 where there's more of a premium now because of the 100-yard performance. I'd rather take Gesicki in terms of anytime touchdown in terms of that situation. Chase Brown is another look at basically even money, his ability to run and catch coming out of the backfield. But my main touchdown scorer tonight is Lamar Jackson at plus 185.
You're on the same page with Dave on that one. Of the 5 guys that he chose, he thinks that Lamar's going to rush one in. Now, I was hearing some rumors that Lamar might be a little banged up, got a bit of an achy back, got a bit of an achy knee. I think he's going to throw the copper fit on and just be fine.
That's what he says, right? Until he rushes for 70 yards on the first play, and you're like, he's fine, no problem.
Exactly.
The wheel is good. Wheels are good, Kasey.
Defense's whole broken neck is because like this guy was supposed to be a little banged up. Exactly. Right? What's a sneaky guy that can get into the end zone or have a bigger game tonight?
I'm going to keep an eye out. If they utilize Mitchell, like I said, over the 15.5, he could be a sneaky player, especially third down opportunities with Justice Hill. Justice Hill, underrated player, especially in the short to intermediate passing game. Keep an eye out for both of those players.
All right, before we let you go over to the in-game live party, let's talk about some of these things that I've got on the books here. You kind of already alluded to the fact that you don't trust Kasey to have the 50.5 receiving yards. I do have him for a touchdown.
I like it.
Because I do like tight ends work versus this Ravens team. They've allowed 68-plus receiving yards to tight ends in the last 3 games, and Kasey has been a huge, huge help for this team in the last coming weeks. Something else that I like, we're not going to be on the same page on this one, but it's totally fine. Burrow and Jackson to combine for 550 passing yards at plus money.
Would not shock me, right? if it resembles the first game in the regular season in Cincinnati, you'll blow right through that number, and that's great value.
And not much has changed in these defenses in my eyes. And then I do have Bateman over 30.5 receiving yards. Just 2 chunk plays, buddy. Just 2 chunk plays. But I also have him finding the end zone.
Yeah,
because when coverage gets a little tight, you see it go over to Bateman really quick and easy. Getting some points on the board for the Ravens.
I'd like to look. If Lamar Jackson has success over the top, he's going to go to the wide receivers tonight. I do like Andrews as the first option, but that could open up everything for the secondary options like Bateman and even Flowers in this matchup.
And I'll do you one better. I got Mark Andrews first half touchdown at plus 330. So far,
let's see.
For the most part, everybody has enjoyed Andrews in the first half to pick up a tutty. And look, I think it just continues to roll. In the second quarter, he's picked it up in the last 3 games. So let's see what takes place. But more importantly, stick with us here on SportsGrid TV because Joe, Kevin, and Donnie have you covered with In-Game Live coming up next here on SportsGrid.
Hey, this is a smash. I'm going to run out and smash my button while you talk about Ramondre Stevenson.
I don't think the Bengals defense is one that you should be fearful of. I think they're middle of the pack. You know, they've lost the Bateses and some of those guys over the years that you used to fear. They got a lot of young kids in there who have some talent. But at the same time here, I do expect Ramondre to be a guy that is going to revert back to what he did a couple years ago.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Ravens starting their season 0-2, and I mean the numbers and what the market had eyeing this team heading into this season is probably almost up in flames at this point.
Their last however many games being down 10 plus points in the fourth quarter, inability to close out, getting picked apart by what is largely considered a below average quarterback with a below average receiving core.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone had him Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. Bears are going to the Super Bowl. Eberflus Coach of the Year. He was terrible.
If he's going to be a success, he's got to play within structure as much as possible. I get it. If the pocket breaks down, throw off the platform. That's fine. But within structure, when the play is there to be made, you need to make it, and he didn't do that.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This would have been a bet that I would have lost big on in terms of betting on Trevor Lawrence thus far. Because, Vinny, I thought he was an absolute rock-solid, can't-miss first overall pick.
They're underachieving a bit. I mean, I don't think this is the best adjustment team with Doug Peterson. He's not the best adjuster. If everything's kind of falling into place and everyone's executing well and he can just do what they want to do.
Newswire, only on